In the upscale suburb of Scottsdale, Arizona, a suburban oasis known for its affluence and tranquility, three couples, Michael and Jennifer Davis, Amanda and Robert Lee, and Sarah and David Collins, decided to embark on a bold new adventure in the summer of 2014. Their lives, once marked by routine and predictability, were now overshadowed by a deep-seated curiosity about the unconventional world of swinging. Each couple, though close-knit and familiar with one another, found themselves drawn to the promise of rekindling excitement and exploring the boundaries of their relationships. Michael Davis, a 34-year-old financial consultant, was known for his charisma and success in the corporate world. His wife, Jennifer, a 32-year-old yoga instructor, had long been the anchor of their domestic life. Together, they seemed to embody the ideal suburban couple. But beneath the surface, they grappled with the monotony of their relationship and sought new experiences to reignite their passion. Amanda Lee, 30, was an ambitious marketing executive, while her husband, Robert, 33, was a real estate agent with a penchant for socializing. Their marriage had always been lively, but Amanda and Robert were eager to push their boundaries and explore new dimensions of their intimacy. They had heard whispers of swinging from friends and were intrigued by the idea of spicing up their relationship. Sarah Collins, a 31-year-old graphic designer, and her husband, David, 35, a high school teacher, were the most hesitant of the group. Their marriage had recently faced challenges, and they hoped that participating in a swinging lifestyle might help them reconnect. Sarah, in particular, was drawn to the idea of exploring her desires, but was uncertain about the potential impact on her relationship with David. The decision to attend their first swingers party came after weeks of discussion and mutual consent. The host of the evening was the Martinez, an experienced couple in the swinging community known for their lavish and well-organized events. The Martinez residence, a sprawling estate with meticulously manicured gardens and a tastefully decorated interior, was the epitome of luxury and indulgence. The party was scheduled for the evening of July 12, 2014. As the guests arrived, they were greeted by an atmosphere charged with anticipation. The house was adorned with exotic decor, including silk drapes, low lighting, and plush seating areas designed to create an intimate and inviting ambiance. The air was thick with the scent of incense, and the soft strains of ambient music played in the background. The Davis, Lee, and Collins couples arrived together, their initial nerves masked by excitement and curiosity. The guests, dressed in provocative and elegant attire, mingled and engaged in flirtatious conversations. Champagne flowed freely, and the atmosphere was electric with the promise of new experiences and unspoken possibilities. As the night progressed, each couple began to explore the boundaries of their newfound freedom. Michael and Jennifer, initially reserved, found themselves drawn into the seductive allure of the evening. Michael's charm and Jennifer's grace made them popular among the other guests, and they quickly became the center of attention. Amanda and Robert, eager to embrace the experience, began to flirt with other couples, enjoying the thrill of their liberated interactions. Their initial hesitations gave way to an enthusiastic engagement with the party's activities. Amanda, in particular, found herself captivated by the attention she received, while Robert reveled in the excitement of the night. Sarah and David, though less enthusiastic initially, gradually became more involved in the festivities. Sarah, feeling both nervous and exhilarated, began to explore her desires, while David tried to balance his apprehensions with a desire to support his wife. Despite their best efforts, they found themselves struggling to fully immerse in the experience. Beneath the surface of the playful interactions and seductive atmosphere, tensions and unspoken desires began to surface. Michael and Amanda, who had long harbored a mutual attraction, found themselves drawn to one another in ways that neither had anticipated. Their chemistry, though initially platonic, ignited a spark that began to blur the lines of their relationships. Jennifer, sensing the shift in Michael's attention, felt a pang of jealousy and insecurity. Amanda's flirtations with other guests only heightened her feelings of betrayal. Similarly, Sarah's growing discomfort with the evening's activities began to create friction between her and David, who was increasingly preoccupied with his own struggles to fit in. As the night wore on, the initial excitement gave way to a more complex web of emotions. The allure of swinging, with its promise of uninhibited pleasure, began to reveal the darker side of human desires and relationships. The evening, meant to be an exploration of new experiences, had set in motion a series of events that would test the boundaries of trust and friendship. On the evening of July 12, 2014, the swingers' party at the Martinez residence continued to unfold with a complexity that belied its initial allure. As the night wore on, the boundaries of the swinging lifestyle became increasingly evident, exposing the underlying tensions and unspoken desires that each couple harbored. Michael Davis, a 34-year-old financial consultant known for his charm and charisma, had initially embraced the night with enthusiasm. His curiosity about the swinging lifestyle was quickly fueled by the seductive atmosphere of the party. Michael, while attempting to remain composed, found himself increasingly drawn to Amanda Lee. The attraction between them was not new. It had been simmering beneath the surface for some time. The mutual flirtation that began in casual conversations soon escalated into more intimate interactions. As the evening progressed, Michael and Amanda gravitated towards one another, their chemistry undeniable. Amanda Lee, 30, a marketing executive, had always admired Michael's confidence and success. Her own marriage to Robert Lee was marked by a blend of ambition and social energy, but Amanda found in Michael a connection that went beyond the superficial. Their conversations grew more intense, reflecting shared frustrations about their respective relationships. The emotional bond that developed between them during the evening laid the groundwork for a deeper, more complex dynamic. Jennifer Davis, Michael's wife, was aware of her husband's interactions, but chose to explore her own connections. Jennifer, a 32-year-old yoga instructor, was initially apprehensive about the party, but sought to make the most of the experience. She engaged in flirtations with several guests, including a charming businessman and an enigmatic artist. As Jennifer began to immerse herself in the swinging lifestyle, she felt a mix of liberation and insecurity. Her interactions, though playful, also highlighted the emotional distance that had grown between her and Michael. Robert Lee, Amanda's husband, was also caught up in the evening's excitement. Robert, a 33-year-old real estate agent, had been initially supportive of the swinging adventure, but soon found himself drawn to the allure of the party. His interactions with other guests, particularly a sultry dance instructor, shifted his focus away from Amanda. Robert's increasing engagement with other women began to create a rift between him and Amanda, further complicating their relationship. David Collins, a 35-year-old high school teacher, and his wife Sarah, 31, a graphic designer, were among the more reserved attendees. David had approached the evening with an open mind but was quickly swept up in the thrill of the event. His enthusiasm led him to connect with several guests, which, while exciting, left Sarah feeling marginalized and insecure. Sarah, who had been hesitant about the swinging lifestyle from the start, struggled to find her place amidst the revelry. Her feelings of exclusion were exacerbated by David's apparent ease and enjoyment, which only deepened her sense of alienation. As the night progressed, the revelries were marked by a series of flirtations and clandestine interactions. The atmosphere, once charged with excitement, began to shift as personal boundaries were tested. Michael and Amanda found themselves drawn into a private conversation away from the main party. They retreated to a secluded corner of the house, where they shared their frustrations and insecurities about their marriages. The conversation, intimate and revealing, fostered a deeper emotional connection between them. They discussed their dissatisfaction with their respective relationships, finding solace in each other's understanding. Meanwhile, Jennifer's flirtations with the businessman took a more physical turn, further complicating her feelings towards Michael. The connection she sought as a means of escape from her marital issues only highlighted the growing rift between them. Robert's increasing detachment and pursuit of other women contributed to Amanda's growing sense of betrayal. The evening's climax was marked by a series of confrontations and confrontational interactions among the couples. Tensions, simmering beneath the surface, began to boil over as jealousy and resentment became palpable. Michael's secretive behavior and emotional closeness with Amanda did not go unnoticed by Jennifer, who confronted her own feelings of inadequacy. Similarly, Amanda's frustration with Robert's disengagement reached a boiling point, leading to an emotional confrontation between the two. Sarah, struggling to navigate her own feelings of exclusion, attempted to re-engage with David, but her efforts were met with increasing distance. David's enjoyment of the evening's activities contrasted sharply with Sarah's sense of isolation, further straining their relationship. As the party drew to a close, the initial thrill of swinging had given way to a complex web of emotions and betrayals. The connections and interactions that were meant to be liberating had instead exposed deep-seated insecurities and unresolved issues. Each couple left the Martinez residence with a new understanding of their relationships, but the night had irrevocably altered their dynamics. The morning of July 13th, 2014, dawned with a sense of foreboding in Scottsdale, Arizona. The previous night's revelries had left more than just a hangover. They had unleashed a storm of emotions and revelations that would test the bonds of the tight-knit group of friends. As the sun rose, the once shared excitement of the swingers' party gave way to the harsh light of reality. Michael Davis and Amanda Lee awoke to the aftermath of their secret rendezvous. Their intimate conversations and mutual attraction, which had seemed thrilling in the heat of the moment, now cast a shadow over their marriages. Michael, who had returned home in the early hours of the morning, faced a turbulent environment as Jennifer Davis confronted him about his behavior. Jennifer, her trust shattered, struggled to mask her hurt and anger. She demanded answers, her questions fueled by the previous night's visible detachment and Michael's evasive responses. Michael, overwhelmed by guilt and unable to provide satisfactory explanations, found himself cornered. Amanda, too, faced the repercussions of her actions. Robert Lee, who had been distant and disengaged during the party, was not prepared to overlook his wife's involvement with Michael. The confrontation between Amanda and Robert was intense and emotional. Robert, his anger and jealousy palpable, accused Amanda of betrayal. Amanda, trying to justify her actions, revealed the frustration she had felt in her marriage, further deepening the rift between them. Their discussion quickly escalated into a bitter argument, with accusations of infidelity and dissatisfaction clouding their once stable relationship. Sarah Collins, who had felt increasingly isolated during the party, was left grappling with the emotional fallout of David's behavior. David, who had been engrossed in the excitement of the evening, now faced Sarah's hurt and frustration head-on. Sarah's confrontation with David was marked by a raw, unfiltered exchange. Her feelings of abandonment and jealousy surfaced, leading to a heated argument that laid bare the cracks in their relationship. David's attempts to deflect responsibility only exacerbated the situation, leaving Sarah feeling more isolated than ever. As the day progressed, the group of friends attempted to navigate the fallout of their actions. The previously close friendships that had bound the couples together were now strained by jealousy and accusations. The morning's conversations and confrontations revealed a deeper web of emotional entanglements that had been exposed by the swingers' party. The once lively discussions and camaraderie were replaced by silence and distrust. The couples, now aware of the extent of their emotional entanglements, faced the daunting task of repairing their relationships. Michael and Jennifer Davis struggled to reconcile their feelings of betrayal. Michael's attempts to reassure Jennifer fell flat as she grappled with the reality of his emotional connection with Amanda. Jennifer's anger and hurt were compounded by Michael's inability to offer a clear path forward. The tension between them was palpable, as they both sought to make sense of their changed relationship. Amanda and Robert Lee, too, faced a difficult road ahead. Their marriage, once marked by shared goals and aspirations, now felt fractured. The trust that had been a cornerstone of their relationship was eroded by the events of the previous night. Amanda's efforts to mend the rift with Robert were met with resistance, as Robert struggled to move past the emotional betrayal. Sarah and David Collins found themselves at an impasse. Their relationship, already strained, faced further challenges as they tried to address the issues that had emerged. Sarah's sense of exclusion and David's apparent indifference created a barrier that seemed insurmountable. Their attempts to reconnect were overshadowed by the lingering resentment and hurt from the previous night. As the day drew to a close, the atmosphere among the group was charged with anger and mistrust. The shared excitement of the swingers' party had given way to a complex web of emotions and conflicts. The couples, now acutely aware of the damage done, struggled to salvage their relationships. The night of indulgence had set in motion a series of events that tested the strength of their friendships and the integrity of their marriages. On the evening of November 15th, 2014, the upscale suburb of Scottsdale, Arizona, was the scene of a tragic and violent escalation in the lives of six friends. Sarah and David Collins, seeking to mend the fractures in their social circle, hosted another swingers party at their home. The event was meant to be a fresh start, a chance for the couples to rebuild trust and reestablish their connections, following the tumultuous night at the Martinez residence. However, the evening quickly descended into chaos, revealing deeper rifts and unaddressed grievances. The Collins residence, a spacious and meticulously decorated home, was transformed into a playground of indulgence once again. The atmosphere, initially inviting with its ambient lighting and luxurious decor, was charged with a tense undercurrent. Guests arrived with a mixture of anticipation and trepidation, aware that the previous party had left emotional scars. As the night unfolded, Sarah Collins, feeling increasingly isolated and hurt by the events of the past party, began to unravel. Her emotional state was exacerbated by the presence of Michael Davis and Amanda Lee, whose affair had left visible cracks in their relationships within the group. Sarah, a 31-year-old graphic designer, approached Michael and Amanda with a mix of anger and desperation. She accused them of undermining her marriage and causing irreparable damage. Sarah's confrontation was not only verbal, but quickly escalated into a physical altercation, drawing the attention of other guests. Amanda Lee, attempting to defend herself, became defensive and emotional. Her frustration was palpable as she argued with Sarah, trying to justify her actions and express her own pain. The exchange between the two women grew more heated, with shouts and accusations echoing through the Collins home. Michael Davis, trying to defuse the situation, found himself caught in the middle of the escalating conflict. His attempt to calm Sarah only fueled her anger further. David Collins, 35, who had been attempting to enjoy the party despite his own emotional turmoil, was drawn into the fray. The tension between David and Michael, previously simmering under the surface, boiled over. The two men, already at odds due to their respective interactions with Sarah, began a furious argument that soon turned physical. The altercation between Michael and David was a stark contrast to the playful and seductive interactions that had characterized the previous party. The violence of their confrontation shocked the other guests, who watched in horror as the situation spiraled out of control. As the struggle between Michael and David intensified, it became clear that the conflict was more than just a heated argument. David, known for his generally calm demeanor, was provoked into a violent response. Michael, usually composed and charismatic, was driven by a mix of anger and self-preservation. The two men clashed violently in the living room, their confrontation becoming a chaotic blur of shouts and physical blows. The night took a tragic turn when David Collins, in the heat of the altercation, sustained fatal injuries. The exact details of the struggle were unclear, but it was evident that David had been struck with considerable force. The bloodied scene left in the living room was a stark and disturbing contrast to the opulent surroundings of the Collins home. The partygoers, initially stunned by the violence, were soon faced with the horrifying reality of David's death. In the aftermath of the fatal encounter, the once celebratory atmosphere was replaced with shock and disbelief. The guests, grappling with the sudden and tragic turn of events, struggled to comprehend what had transpired. The chaotic night had culminated in a devastating and violent outcome, leaving the friends' lives forever altered. The police were called to the scene, and the Collins residence, which had been a site of indulgence and escapism, was now a crime scene. The investigation into David Collins' death would uncover the full extent of the tensions and conflicts that had led to the fatal encounter. The night, meant to repair fractured relationships, had instead exposed the deep-seated issues and betrayals that had been simmering beneath the surface. As the first responders arrived and began their investigation, the guests were left to grapple with their guilt and horror. The tragic death of David Collins marked a turning point in their lives, setting the stage for the unraveling of the group's fragile bonds and the revelation of the hidden truths that had led to the fatal confrontation. Detective Laura Evans, a seasoned investigator with the Scottsdale Police Department, was assigned to the case. Her team began by securing the scene, documenting the layout of the living room where David's body had been found, and collecting initial evidence. The living room, once a space for socializing and indulgence, was now marked by bloodstains and overturned furniture, reflecting the intensity of the confrontation that had occurred. The first priority for the detectives was to interview the guests who had been present at the party. Each person was brought in for questioning, and their statements were recorded and analyzed. The guests included Michael Davis, Jennifer Davis, Amanda Lee, Robert Lee, Sarah Collins, and David Collins, each of whom had been embroiled in the events leading up to the fatal altercation. Michael Davis, who had been directly involved in the physical struggle with David, was one of the primary suspects. His account of the night was fragmented and inconsistent. Michael, a 32-year-old financial analyst, described the confrontation as an unexpected escalation of a heated argument. He admitted to engaging in a physical altercation with David, but claimed it was in self-defense. Michael's demeanor was tense and evasive, and his statements did not entirely align with the evidence collected at the scene. Jennifer Davis, Michael's wife, was interviewed next. Jennifer, a 30-year-old schoolteacher, was visibly distraught. She described the evening as chaotic and explained her attempt to mediate the escalating arguments between her husband and the Collins. Jennifer's account highlighted the emotional and psychological toll the night had taken on her, but her statements did not directly connect her to the violence that ensued. Amanda Lee, who had been involved in a secret affair with Michael, was questioned about her interactions with both Michael and David. Amanda, a 29-year-old marketing executive, revealed that she had been caught in the crossfire of the evening's conflicts. Her account detailed her attempts to distance herself from the escalating tensions, but also exposed her own emotional involvement and resentment toward Sarah Collins. Robert Lee, Amanda's husband, was also questioned. Robert, a 34-year-old real estate agent, described his frustration with the evening, but downplayed his involvement in the altercations. His statements revealed a strained relationship with Amanda, but provided little insight into the specifics of the confrontation. Sarah Collins, the host of the party, was interviewed last. Sarah, 31, had been the most visibly affected by the night's events. Her account was filled with emotion as she described her confrontation with Michael and Amanda, expressing her feelings of betrayal and isolation. Sarah's testimony was crucial as it shed light on the underlying tensions and personal grievances that had fueled the altercations. As the detectives pieced together the timeline of events, several key details emerged. Evidence from the crime scene, including blood spatter patterns and witness statements, indicated that the struggle between Michael and David had been intense and prolonged. Forensic analysis revealed that David had sustained severe blunt force trauma consistent with a violent altercation. Further investigation uncovered a series of confrontations and emotional outbursts leading up to the murder. Witnesses reported ongoing disputes between Michael and David, fueled by jealousy and personal grudges. The detectives discovered that the party had been marked by a series of covert interactions and confrontations, which had heightened the tensions among the group. The detectives also uncovered hidden affairs and unspoken resentments. Amanda's affair with Michael, combined with Sarah's feelings of betrayal and isolation, added layers of complexity to the case. The conflicting statements and suspicious behaviors of the guests indicated that the murder was not merely the result of a single altercation, but the culmination of deep-seated issues and unresolved conflicts. As the investigation continued, Detective Evans and her team worked diligently to piece together the events of the night, focusing on the relationships and motivations of those involved. The case was far from straightforward, and the detectives were tasked with unraveling the intricate web of relationships, betrayals, and hidden motives that had led to the tragic and fatal confrontation. In the weeks following David Collins' murder, the Scottsdale community was abuzz with speculation and shock as the investigation into his death drew to a close. The case had captivated local media and brought to light the darker side of the swinging lifestyle. Detective Laura Evans and her team had meticulously pieced together the evidence, uncovering a story of jealousy, betrayal, and tragic violence. The breakthrough in the case came with the detailed forensic analysis and the corroboration of witness statements. Forensic evidence had confirmed the severity of the altercation between Michael Davis and David Collins. The blood spatter patterns and injuries sustained by David indicated that the violence had been brutal and sustained, underscoring the intensity of the confrontation. Michael Davis, who had been the primary suspect throughout the investigation, was officially charged with manslaughter. His arrest marked the beginning of a complex legal process. Michael's defense team argued that his actions were the result of extreme provocation and self-defense. However, the prosecution contended that the altercation was the culmination of long-standing personal conflicts and emotional volatility, not merely a spontaneous reaction. The court proceedings were highly publicized, drawing significant attention from the media and the community. The trial exposed the intricate web of relationships and grievances that had led to the fatal encounter. Key testimonies from the surviving friends, Jennifer Davis, Amanda Lee, and Sarah Collins, revealed the personal and relational fallout from the night of November 15th, 2014. Jennifer Davis, Michael's wife, took the stand to recount the turmoil she had experienced. She described the emotional strain of the evening and the subsequent fallout, detailing the impact of the events on her marriage. Jennifer's testimony highlighted the strain on her relationship with Michael and her feelings of betrayal and confusion. Amanda Lee's testimony was equally revealing. She discussed her affair with Michael and the emotional turmoil it had caused within the group. Amanda's statements illustrated the complexity of the interpersonal dynamics and the deep-seated resentment that had festered among the friends. Her account was a critical piece in understanding the motivations behind the altercation. Sarah Collins, the host of the ill-fated party, provided a harrowing account of the night's events. Her testimony revealed the extent of her emotional distress and the conflicts that had arisen between her and the other guests. Sarah described her feelings of isolation and betrayal, which had fueled her confrontations with Michael and Amanda. The courtroom drama was intense, as the testimonies and evidence painted a vivid picture of the emotional damage inflicted on the group. The prosecution argued that Michael's actions, though not premeditated, were driven by a combination of jealousy, anger, and desperation. The defense, however, sought to portray the incident as a tragic culmination of provoked violence, rather than intentional murder. In the end, the jury found Michael Davis guilty of manslaughter, and he was sentenced to a term in prison. The verdict brought some semblance of closure to the case, but did little to repair the shattered lives of those involved. The once tight-knit group of friends was left to pick up the pieces of their fractured relationships. Michael and Jennifer Davis faced the long road of reconciling their marriage and rebuilding their lives in the wake of the tragedy. Amanda Lee and Robert Lee grappled with the fallout from the affair and the impact it had on their own relationship. Sarah Collins, burdened by the role she had played in the events, struggled to come to terms with the emotional toll of the night. The scandal left the Scottsdale community reeling. The events had exposed the complexities and potential dangers of exploring unconventional desires, and the case served as a stark reminder of the consequences of such pursuits.